Dr. Mufamadi, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. First of all, maybe let me start by getting your response and reaction to the attempt by the State Security Agency Minister Ayanda Dlolo to block the testimony of the Acting Director General. She seemed to suggest she's concerned about issues of national interest and what could have been exposed. Were you surprised by that move?
Well, I thought she explained why she thought that the hearing should not proceed. But I thought the debate that took place before the hearing proceeded confirms the robustness of our system, in that the ruling was not given without a debate. And this is what happens in a democracy.
What I picked up from your testimony yesterday, in a nutshell, is that the State Security Agency has been abused to further political and personal interests instead of doing the job it was constitutionally required to do. So it seems it was a law unto itself.
Yes, as you will recall, the testimony was based on a report which was submitted to the President in December 2018. So what we were talking about are things that happened prior to the panel being appointed, doing and completing its work. So indeed, the matter had to be aired yesterday, the manner that it was aired, and the continuation that we saw today. But in the report which we gave to the President, we also talk about steps that we thought need to be taken, given how we saw the intelligence statecraft being used to invade regular government and to undermine the entrenchment of democratic culture in the country. We made recommendations which are intended to avoid a recurrence of those practices. And I thought that today the focus would have been on trying to check as to how far the agency has gone to remedy the situation.
Yeah, because I was about to ask how far is the State Security Agency with the implementation of your recommendations. Are you not aware, have you not been given an update on how far they are with some of the things you've recommended as the high-level review panel?
No, they have no obligation to account to us in this regard. But it's very important for Parliament to hold the executive to account on this matter, to hold the department to account on this matter. But you will have noticed that some of the matters that we pointed to yesterday showed that if we had a higher level of civic vigilance in the country, some of the wrong things that happened could have been averted, which brings me to the important role that I think the media can play to heighten public awareness about these issues. These are very grave matters of national importance. And the fact that there was such a low level of consciousness about what went wrong, despite the fact that the report was put in the public domain as long ago as 2 years ago, must say something about the need for all of us to contribute whatever we can to ensure that the good times are not taken for granted. We must always know, that it was not without reason that we have a constitution which, as a country, which constrains and limits executive authority and make sure that the boundaries that are set are observed. But then to observe this, it means that the mechanisms which have been put in place, oversight mechanisms, need to be made to work effectively by those who are deployed into institutions such as the legislature, parliament of our country.
I want to talk about some of the things that were presented to you as the members of that high-level review panel. You were told, as the panel, about the money that allegedly flowed from the agency to former President Jacob Zuma through the former State Security Minister David Mahlobo. And I know your job as the panel was not to investigate what you were told, but are you aware from the people that presented this information to you, whether they've got evidence to this effect and the other allegations?
I think the first important thing to note, as I said yesterday, we were only reporting the things that were said to us by people who wrote a report and submitted them to the agency. These people were paid for the work which they purported to have done. These people were given money in order to do the work which they claim to have done, and part of that money, as they alleged, was given to the president, the then president, Mr. Jacob Zuma, through the then Minister of State Security, Mr. David Mahlobo. Now, the critical thing to bear in mind, which is common cause, is that money was disbursed, somebody received it, they have to account for that money. And if part of their accounting brings in the then minister and the then president, then it means any probe will also have to feature those two political office bearers.
You also gave details about other projects, like Project Justice, a project that was intended, we were told, to infiltrate the judiciary, to influence the outcome of cases against the former president. The acting DG today also said there is money that may have gone into the hands of some members of the judiciary. Did this project actually take off from the information you received during the work of the panel review, or was it only conceptualized? And I'm asking this, Dr. Mufamadi, because you did say we have to be cautious given how sensitive this issue is. We are a country that's always priding itself in the independence of our judiciary.
Yes, I think what was clear about those projects we were talking about is that most of them were focusing on matters that are not within the remit of the State Security Agency. So that is the first offense that on the face of it was committed. Now, secondly, there is a question that will need to be looked into. Did these projects actually exist, or were they a ruse for stealing money? Which is why, therefore, when somebody says, I'm running sources within the judiciary, as I was saying, we need to approach such a claim with extreme caution because it may prove also to be false, particularly if we assume, which we should, that the men and women who are in our judiciary are people of integrity. So I'm saying that you will have first to say who is to be trusted between these men and women who are in the judiciary and the people who were running basically rogue operations within the SSA. up to now, at least, well, the commission was not given the identities of the judges who were allegedly cooperating with these rogue operations. That is a matter to be further investigated by the relevant authorities.
Did the people who appeared before the panel, Dr. Mufamadi, say where the money was coming from? Because even the DG of the acting DG of the State Security Agency testifying today also said that money from the agency was used to fund political activity and not necessarily the ANC, but factions within the ANC. In fact, he said 9 billion rand remains unaccounted for. That's a lot of money. It could have come in very handy in a country that's been broke for so many years.
Yeah, well, the DG can only talk about money which belonged to the state, which was allocated to the State Security Agency. As I said yesterday, we interacted with the Auditor General, and the Auditor General was concerned, that is the late Mr. Makwetu. He was concerned that there were such huge sums of money that were not accounted for. Now, you can't be entrusted with the responsibility to look after the affairs of the nation, and you are so flippant about public property.
So what happens next? The people that were responsible for the looting of the slush funds, for abusing the resources of the State Security Agency, are they still within the agency? Has there been accountability? Will there be accountability?
Well, to start with, we were focusing mostly on people who were in the so-called Special Operations Unit, who were brought in on a temporary basis. We understand also with promises that they might be permanently integrated into the agency. I happen to know that those promises did not materialize. But surely those people are known, not only known to the panel because the panel interacted with them. Yeah. They are known to this commission. They are known to the law enforcement agencies. The exposure was also intended to make sure that where there is a need for further investigations to take place, then they should take place. We must expect to see possibly some of these people appearing before the commission or filing affidavits responding to such questions as the commission may have put to them. Clearly the matter has not ended there. But of more profound importance is how does the country ensure that we don't see a repeat of what happened in the last 12 years or so.
Yeah. Well, help us answer that, Dr. Mufamadi. Yes. Help us answer that question. How does the country prevent the State Security Agency from being abused again? Where does it start? Because it seems the loyalty of some employees at the State Security Agency was to the person of the president and not the constitution or the country.
Well, I think it is safe to assume that the loyalty of the majority of the State Security Agency is to the Constitution, which is why there was such apprehension within the ranks of the SSA to the new insistence that they must also pledge allegiance to the president and the minister. That was really an ominous sign of what was to come. And the many people that we interacted with in the SSA thought that were yearning for a return to the days when were only expected
Yeah.
to owe allegiance to the Constitution and the relevant laws of the land.
Yeah, we're out of time, Dr. Mufamadi, but I have to ask you this. Do you think the State Security Agency has been corrupted beyond redemption? Is there hope?
Look, I think we must be proud that we have now an administration in place which is showing a commitment to make a clean break with the nefarious activities of the period that was under review by the panel. I think it's important that we hold hands with this administration. It's important that we realize that maybe we also erred by going to sleep a little bit. Parliament must ask itself whether there are things it could have done better to prevent things such as the executive overreach that we were informed happened during that period.
All right. Dr. Sidney Mufamadi, really appreciate your time on ENCA this evening.